All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the channel. It's time for another disruption in the market. Just quoting reported in December of 2023 that Microsoft could disrupt and threaten PlayStation's business. Sony's Xbox fears laid bare in massive hack. There was one of the documents that actually came out in Insomniac's hack at the time that actually opened up what PlayStation was, in a sense, finding as a possible, in quote, nightmare. And I use the word nightmare loosely. Don't get after me. It's just in their own threat analysis. They said that one of the biggest threat that Microsoft posed was the day and date threat. And they said post-acquisition, Microsoft will put Activision games on Game Pass day and date. I remember the conversation about how they were not marketing this particular, Game Pass and the Call of Duty, but now they've started to go hard with the marketing. It appears to me that I think this has probably been their strategy. They've stayed quiet for a long time, and now that the game, which usually sells itself anyways, is getting close, the ramping up is about to really begin and kick off. And it's available with Game Pass, basically on October 25th. So again, for those of you who may be wondering if they were going to go ahead and actually, put this game out there for people to see, well, I mean, there was not a doubt. I just kind of laughed when people were saying, how come they're not marketing it? And somebody over here says, I'll be playing the best version on PS5 Pro. Yes, that's literally what Xbox needs. They need you guys to come out and actually start declaring, your pre-order numbers, because this is the disruption in the industry that we always needed. You see, PlayStation has gotten fat and tired of actually giving quality. So what we need is for another live service game to come and slap them around so that they can wake up to actually giving what players would like, which is giving experiences that actually rock. But here's the thing again, who are we kidding? Even when they go ahead and give these experiences, the players usually like going back after those experiences are done to these live service games. And you see, I've finally come to terms with the live service thing. I used to be all, but, after playing Tom Clancy's The Division and I enjoyed it, I had to call myself out and say, man, you can't be yelling at live service games when you've just vegged out on another live service game, made a YouTube channel about that live service game, made videos about the good things and the bad things about a live service game, and even profited from the live service game. So I was like, yeah, that just is all levels of hypocrisy. I might as well put these live service games in their compartment. They are a necessity for these companies to farm money, even though many a times they can get greedy, but they can get greedy in single player games too. Let's not get that wrong. Like you've seen Assassin's Creed, you saw Middle-earth Shadow of War in 2017. Yes, did you forget? They had a store where you could buy time savers. And then after all of the noise, they eventually removed it. So we've seen these particular patterns. These gaming companies don't need a live service game to be able to make money. They could go put it in the single player games. So I actually would prefer that now that I myself am looking at a lot of these live service games with a little bit more skepticism, that they keep, a lot of those, practices over there, and then we can play our single player games without those microtransactions and other things over here. I think that's the way I've been able to go ahead and justify it. Now, how you would, choose to, I do not know. However, we're continuing to see that this is what's overtaking the industry. In fact, Tim Sweeney said something in one of the videos the other day, and I apologize for that video I made about it, guys. I didn't see my audio channels properly on OBS, and Gotham Knights gameplay was playing in there. I really apologize. But he said right now that, one thing about gaming right now is that, game companies are not making generational games. Instead, what they're doing is they're making these big games that nobody is playing. And he and his company, he can basically count those sweet, sweet dollars because they're evolving the Fortnite ecosystem. They're not only evolving it in the player side, they're evolving it on the creator side. They basically went ahead and created an Unreal Engine Fortnite version where you can come in and create games with, modified terms of use, assets and, all that stuff, code base available for you. So now creators can start, spitting out content and spitting out ideas in their ecosystem while they're over here making more moves with Lego and so on and so forth. And man, I just got to tell you, man, this is a really interesting time in gaming. And everybody who's been sitting on the old school way of doing games, I'm happy that 2024 is here. I'm glad for you to see it for yourself that the changes that some of us have been talking about for a long time, they're finally coming together. And I'd say there seems to be a little adamance, and there might have been a little bit of fear there. Talking about things like Game Pass. Some people used to come up with the nonsense saying, "Oh, it degraded games, and it just was not good for the industry," and all this nonsense. But now I think everybody is finally seeing, okay, it seems like there's some sensibility here, because at the end of the day, a lot of folk are not going to spend money on these single player games. They need a way to be able to, draw in funds so that they can go back and make another single player game. Let me give you some really cool stories out of what's going on in Game Pass if you care to hear. Lords of the Fallen is the second Lords of the Fallen game that we've gotten. The same developers made a game back in the day called Lords of the Fallen. It got kind of dragged because it was a wannabe Souls-like, all this stuff. So they came back again and said, "Oh, we're going to make a Lords of the Fallen again." But then the game sold, not the greatest, but then it landed on Game Pass, right? Subsidized a lot of their own expenses by getting a deal going, make the game more available. And now they're screaming and shouting on the rooftop that by 2026, there's going to be another Lords of the Fallen game. Because obviously, if we look around hard enough, we'll find somebody that liked it, right? And those people can be happy that they're going to get another Lords of the Fallen game. So there are benefits to this. Now, again, if I actually wanted to maybe at this point, kind of take a little detour and point out even to what PlayStation might be trying to do in the industry, it just is not working. I mean, guys, think about it. What have they really been doing? Money had in games. I'm sure they would have loved to get Lords of the Fallen as an exclusive on their platform because that's going to benefit them solely. But what would that have done? It would have put them in the Final Fantasy way, where the Final Fantasy games are literally, in a position where people are. I mean, you should see some PlayStation fans vehemently defending the poor sales for a company like Final Fantasy. Keep in mind, Final Fantasy made me one of my best friends. And it's not because we both like Final Fantasy. It's because he played the game so much in school. He got held back. And then he became my mate. He was my senior. Okay? That's how much that game had a lot of influence on people. And you should see people right now basically going ahead to say, well, the Final Fantasy sales at 3 million copies were fine. And I just thought to myself, are we really doing this? Are we, in a position where somebody thinks that a Final Fantasy game that's basically generational? I mean, I'm talking about people who played this game as boys that now have children and are men and some are grandparents. That this game selling 3.5 million and 3 million and whatever copies is actually an okay thing? Come on. We really need to go ahead and say we need to shift our thinking in the way a lot of these companies are actually trying to make their games available for people, because what that would do is that's going to make games for more people to play. It's going to, in a sense, incite sales. And it's going to, at the end of the day, do what we need these games to do, which is create sequels, create other games within the lines of games. So that's one of the reasons we try to talk about this, and we have to sit and have these conversations. But I'm glad Game Pass is a thing. I mean, I have to pay very little, and I get to discover games, or at least remember games that I forgot, because it's easy to forget a lot of games, guys. There's just too many games out here. But it's a service that actually rocks, and I think PlayStation sees it as a threat because they have not prioritized value. They've basically enjoyed a lot of the, the soft glovery from their audiences, but then when they saw value coming, they freaked out because there's a lot of value, guys. I mean, think about it. Even they say it. Let me show you guys. Let's go ahead and say there's something they said here. It says Activision provides exceptional value. It actually is very interesting that they themselves actually pointed out that this is exceptional in its value. Actually, I'm sorry, I lied. They didn't call it exceptional value. They called it incredible strategic value across live service games, their scale in mobile and PC storefront. Now, the value truly for the company, yes, but for the consumers, now that Xbox holds it and wants to use it as a measure to bring in more, players, their value proposition basically flaunts it in front of everything they have to offer. I mean, you can see it already in their Game Pass ad, bro. Like, they literally came out here and said, "What are y'all doing? Come play like the year's biggest game for $11 a month on PC." Like, literally, these guys are crazy. This is insane, bro. This is incredible strategic value. And some people are here saying if this cannot make Xbox, if Xbox can market COD can't market Xbox, if that makes sense. I don't understand what this said. Someone said, if this, oh, this is the one I was looking for. If this doesn't boost Game Pass numbers significantly, I don't think anything will. Yo, the significance of the Game Pass boost is what you're basically fixated on that number. What you should be fixated on is the people who are excited on PlayStation that they're going to play it on their PlayStation 5 Pro, because they're the ones that really make the big numbers anyways. I mean, if we think about it, they're the ones that are pretty much giving, a lot of the money to Xbox. So I look forward to making a lot of videos on this. I mean, this is really great, man. And I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching the video. Appreciate you guys' time and audience, and hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.